several aviation experts. As you can see, that the plane had not even reached its complete altitude, which is rather shocking for a commercial air flight. The blaze also soon after erupted, and it was a catastrophic blaze that took place. As you can see, this is in fact the entire debris and the crash site with the debris and the fuel catching fire, gutting several buildings. As you can see, the smoke continues to bellow out, and those are the gutted buildings in the background. Parts of the plane crashed into nearby residential areas, wrecking several buildings, as you can see. And it is the medical students from these buildings that are still struggling for life. Many of them are also being reported dead. But what has caught the attention of the viewers is the nose of the aircraft, which is stuck inside the building. Plane parts destroyed several buildings near the crash site. The parts of the fuselage and engines were cut into several buildings, as you can see. The teams soon after kicked into action. All these emergency teams were activated. They were working round the clock, even as we speak, to douse the flames at the crash site and the nearby buildings. This is one of the deadliest Boeing crashes. Remember, if we look at the cases across the globe, let me give you a quick recap of what happened in December of 2024. Jeju air crash happened in South Korea. It was a Boeing 737-800. What was the reason? It overshot the runway post-emergency landing. What was the death toll like? 179 people of the 181 which were on board were all killed. Let's now quickly rewind to 2019 March, and Ethiopian Airlines, again a Boeing 737 MAX 8. What was the reason? It crashed post-takeoff from Addis Ababa, led to a death toll of 157 passengers and crew members, all of them killed. In October of 2018, the Lion Air Flight 610 in Indonesia crashed. It was a Boeing 737 MAX 8. The reason that was given that time was that it crashed into the ocean soon after takeoff. All 189 on board were killed. If we look at Air India crashes at home, especially in August of 2020, Air India Express flight 1344 killed 184 passengers, 6 crew members, and the reason given was that it overshot the runway during the landing. The death toll was 21 fatalities, and the conclusion that was drawn, in fact, was that there was a non-adherence to the SOPs by the pilot. Now, in May of 2010, in Mangaluru, the Air India Express flight 812 killed 160 passengers and 6 crew members that were on board. The reason that was given was that it overshot the runway, fell into a gorge, and led to the death toll of 152 fatalities. The deduction was that the captain failed to discontinue the plane. And so the Ahmedabad air disaster is the deadliest crash in Indian aviation. It has, of course, prompted several unanswered questions. Let me bring those questions forward to you. The first most burgeoning question that begs our attention is, was there a technical issue detected a day before the flight that was perhaps missed out on? The other question that also is being raised is, what prompted the pilot to issue the SOS within 5 minutes of the takeoff? Can foul play angle be even ruled out by the authorities? Will all Boeing 787 planes now be put under scanner following this deadly air crash in Ahmedabad today? Will the black box unlock the mystery behind the plane crash? These are all the host of questions that people are still looking for answers for. Now, we are also getting in some breaking inputs right now. Sources from the Ahmedabad police have gone on to say that one survivor has been rescued out of that entire plane crash that happened. So far, only one survivor. Almost a miraculous incident that there's one survivor who has been rescued. The confirmation coming in from Ahmedabad police as we speak. This, remember, so far is a lone survivor who was sitting on seat 11A. Payal Mehta joins me with more inputs. Payal, share the details with us.
Well, what we're given to understand is that there is possibly one survivor. That is at least what the authorities are confirming. So that was actually at least some glint, of hope in this entire otherwise dismal affair that was only seen. That 11A is a survivor that the police has really come out and said and that is actually no less than a miracle, given the fact that we're almost confirmed that, most of the passengers appeared to be dead. In this, including the building against which it crashed, where, doctors were eating lunch during the lunch hour as well. This is tragic beyond, beyond one's imagination, but at least one faint glint of hope. And that survivor actually must be a real survivor to survive this entire crash where everybody around him is feared to be dead. Akansha.
Also, Payal, what are you learning in terms of the condition of this survivor? How seriously or gravely is he injured, and are there any hopes of him? All right, we seem to have lost that connection with Payal, but what we can tell you is this is almost a miracle that we have a lone survivor from that plane crash, and remember, many of them or almost all of them have been declared dead, but the Ahmedabad police confirming that one person has miraculously survived, and perhaps this survivor could be of extreme importance to the entire investigation, which will now be looking into what exactly led to that deadly air crash. Payal Mehta is back with us. Payal, if you could share details with us with regards to what is the condition of this lone survivor.
Well, the condition has certainly been ascertained, and no doubt whatsoever, Akansha, that person must have really, got grievous injuries, to say the least, given the fact that everything around him is charged. One has to remember that the flight was full completely. It was full to its capacity, and also the fact that the flight was just taking off, which clearly meant that even fuel-wise, the flight would have been completely full to the brim, and therefore everything around them is really charged. The Ahmedabad police is still trying to ascertain his exact health condition. But, like I said, in a place where actually everything seems to be so glum, at least there's this faint hint of some sort of a hope coming up that life knows how to survive.
Absolutely. Also, now that we have a lone survivor, Payal, share with us how crucial and pivotal could be this survival, in fact, for the entire ongoing investigation. As we also heard what the Civil Aviation Minister, Mr. Ram Mohan Naidu, had to say, that they will get to the bottom of what exactly led to this crash.
Of course, it's going to be of great help to see when he or she is able to recover and be able to share what he or she went through, in the entire flight, depending completely on his health condition, what he's able to recall. But at least one thing is for sure, at least one family will have some smile on their face when everybody around them are completely heartbroken and just fallen, given the fact that every of their loved ones have, fallen prey to this ghastly attack, ghastly crash which has taken place as well. But like I said, it is going to be certainly a very important piece of evidence coming to the fore. He's an eyewitness who was on that flight. He will be able to, in fact, recall and tell the police officials what really happened. Because I'm sure before, the ATC was connected, the pilot must have also alerted the passengers within the aircraft as to what was really happening. It was all this happened within a matter of 60 seconds is what we've been able to fathom and we've been able to gather as well. So his testimony will be of great importance as far as that's concerned. But purely depends on what his health condition is and when and how much is he able to recall.
All right, so what we are also learning that the survivor's name is Vishwa Kumar, and the Ahmedabad police have in fact gone on to confirm that he has been rescued. He's a lone survivor from this crash. Of course, it is a miracle that he has survived. In fact, this is footage coming in of the survivor, Mr. Ramesh, as you can see, as he walks out, almost surviving for him, of course, has been a miracle. That is something what we can tell you for sure. And as Payal was also highlighting, he's going to be very pivotal. His testimony is going to be very pivotal with regards to the ongoing investigation. As Ram Mohan Naidu, the Civil Aviation Minister, has already confirmed that they will get to the bottom of this entire probe to find out what exactly led to this crash. It's a miracle that this lone survivor is in fact even able to walk out of that crash site at a time when most of the survivors, all of the survivors have been declared dead. But Ahmedabad police over there confirming that this lone survivor who was on seat number 11A survived. This is perhaps going to go down in the annals of history as this lone survivor walks out of the Ahmedabad airport. He is, remember, the only lone survivor in a flight that was carrying over 230 passengers. His name is Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, who survived the plane crash. He was allotted seat number 11A. And the Ahmedabad police have finally rescued this one survivor. Remember, his testimony is going to be pivotal, extremely significant to the ongoing investigation, because nobody's been able to ascertain, with aviation experts still trying to ascertain the exact reason. The quality control behind Boeing is also now coming into the picture, as reports are indicating that there was an FAA audit last year, which was a 2-week audit into the quality checks of Boeing. But could it be a technical glitch, or could it be a bird hit, or birds hitting, multiple birds hitting, or weather also could be playing a significant role? Right now, it is fairly nascent at this stage to comment into exactly what was that went behind, but perhaps it is Mr. Ramesh's testimony that will be extremely significant. Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, he's a British national, is what we are being told, and he was on the Gatwick-bound flight that took off from Ahmedabad and crashed soon after takeoff. Roughly 20 minutes after takeoff is when it crashed, and it crashed into the residential building of the medical college, into the medical hostel, where several students are still grappling for life. It is a miracle, to say the least, that we have a lone survivor, Mr. Ramesh, allotted seat number 11A. He is a British national, as we are being told. He was on a visit to Gujarat and was heading back to London. Payal joins me with more inputs on this miraculous survival that's taken place. Payal, share what else are you learning from your sources?
Like I said, that this is a very, very tragic episode which has come to the fore as well. Nobody would have been prepared for an episode like this. A flight of happiness for many who are either looking to go back home or embark on a vacation or a work trip has turned into an extreme tragedy. The testimony of the lone survivor as of now is going to be of extreme importance. That is something at least what the authorities are hoping for, because his testimony in terms of what really led to the circumstances that actually happened is going to be of great importance. We'll have to just wait and see. But like I said, all hands on deck approach being applied by the government of India over here. In terms of what we've seen so far, multiple leaders, multiple ministers being flown down to Gujarat. C.R. Patil, the Union Minister of Jal Shakti, and also, the state president of BJP has just reached Gujarat. He, in fact, gave us the unfortunate confirmation of Vijay Rupani's unfortunate demise over here. Civil Aviation Minister Rammohan Naidu can be seen taking rounds of the accident site, trying to ascertain what's really happening. Muralidhar Mohal, the MOS for Civil Aviation, will also be landing shortly at around 7 o'clock, 7:30, I beg your pardon. He's going to be accompanied by officials from Ministry of Civil Aviation Secretary, and also the DGC officials, who are going to be examining the accident site and understanding how to go about the investigation. Because remember, the government of India has promised not just to the Indians and not to the victims of those people who actually fell apart to this deadly accident, but also to the foreign nationals that a thorough investigation will be done. And also the fact that Union Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah is a local son of the soil. He's also expected to land in Ahmedabad sometime from now. As it's just too early, I can't just predict as to what really led to the situation, whether there was a technical failure, or whether there was a human error, or whether there was any attempt to sabotage, because there were a lot of foreign nationals on this. Nothing is being ruled out from the agency so far, and should there be any sabotaging angle which emerges over here, it will be important to see if the government hands over the probe to NIA or any other investigating agency. It's just too early in the day to talk about it. We'll have to just wait for some more time.
Absolutely. In fact, stay with me, Payal, as we are also getting in more information through newspaper reports which are going on to indicate that Mr. Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, who's 40-year-old and the only lone survivor of this deadly crash, has, as we can see, borne impact injuries on his chest, eyes and feet. He has received these impact injuries, but is miraculously able to walk out of that entire crash site. That is, in fact, indeed a miracle in itself. And he's also gone on to share his experience. Most importantly, he's gone on to talk about how there was a loud noise just 30 seconds after takeoff, and that is what in fact led to a crash within minutes, and the plane of course burst into flames. So this is what Vishwas has had to share that it was only after 30 seconds of takeoff there was a loud noise, and then soon after the plane crashed. It all happened very quickly. So if one was to go by what Vishwas has had to say, this is also contradicting the other versions that have come into limelight, which are going on to indicate that it was roughly after 20 minutes of takeoff that the plane actually crashed. But Vishwas has gone on to share that only after 30 seconds there was a loud noise, and soon after the plane crashed. It all happened very quickly. But this indeed is a miracle to see. Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, who is a 40-year-old British national, was visiting Gujarat, has miraculously escaped this or rather survived this deadly or catastrophic air crash. This, as relatives of all those who were aboard the Air India flight are currently desperately looking for their loved ones at the civil hospital in Ahmedabad as we speak. All the rest have been declared dead except from Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, who's a 40-year-old, the lone survivor, as he survived this deadly crash. But if you can see that image which is currently being flashed on your screens, he's of course borne injuries on his face. These are impact injuries that he's not just borne on his face but also on his chest. But what stands out is that he's able to walk out of the crash, and these impact injuries, given the catastrophic explosion that happened after the plane crashed, it's a miracle to see this lone survivor, 40-year-old Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, who survived this entire crash. But as we've been highlighting, his testimony is going to be extremely pivotal to the ongoing investigation, which has now led to a host of unanswered questions. What are those unanswered questions? Well, many are wondering if it was the Boeing and the quality check that led to it. Can foul play angle be ruled out by authorities? Will all Boeing 787 planes now be put under the scanner following this deadly catastrophic crash? Was there a technical issue detected even before the flight could take off? CNN News 18 has been getting you reactions, and we've been speaking to passengers who boarded this flight earlier in the day, and they've gone on to talk about how there were technical snags because the AC in the aircraft was not working, the in-flight entertainment was not working, which is rather unusual for Air India flights. And those are the testimonies that we are learning from passengers who had boarded this flight earlier during the day. But as of now, there are a host of unanswered questions, and to pinpoint any particular factor would be fairly nascent or premature. But all those unanswered questions do call for an investigation. Will the authorities be able to find the black box? How soon will they be able to, because perhaps the black box will be able to unlock the mystery behind this entire plane crash. But what's standing out right now as we track all the latest updates for you in this unimaginable story that has emerged is that Ramesh Kumar actually managed to dodge death, had a narrow escape. In fact, that explosion that you can see is catastrophic to say the least, and he managed to actually come out absolutely unscathed. It's miraculous that he's managed to walk out of the crash site. As you can see, the least that he's borne is in fact those impact injuries on his face, on his chest. And he's a 40-year-old British national who was in fact visiting the state of Gujarat. He was on this Gatwick-bound flight. He was allotted seat 11A. And according to Mr. Ramesh, there was a loud explosion, and that happened soon, 30 seconds after takeoff, and it all happened so quickly, and that is exactly what led the aircraft to nosedive and led to the crash eventually. In fact, aviation experts have also been commenting on the rapid descent of this entire crash and the entire video. But let's quickly go across to Anvit, who's been tracking the latest for us. Anvit, if you could share with us the story of this lone survivor, what is it that you're learning? If you could give us some confirmation regarding the comments that he's shared with other newspaper reports that are indicating that he said that only after 30 seconds did the aircraft crash, and there was a loud explosion before it led to that crash. Anvit, can you hear me? All right, we'll try and reconnect with Anvit, but this is the big story of the hour that has emerged out of this entire air crash. The only silver lining to this deadly, catastrophic air crash, as Ramesh Kumar is the lone survivor, is a 40-year-old British national visiting the state of Gujarat. This has several families now look for their loved ones. Vishwas Ramesh, of course, survives this deadly air crash. Anvit is back with us. Anvit, what are you learning about this lone survivor of this catastrophic air crash?
One passenger so far has been identified who is the survivor, and so far we are calling him the lone survivor because no other survivor has been reportedly been safe in this flight. And this man has been identified as Vishwas Kumar Ramesh. He had been living in UK for more than 20 years, and he had come to India with his brother, and he was traveling back. They had visited Diu, and he's a 40-year-old man. He had when he was found on the spot, he was put in an ambulance and sent to medical facilities. But as he recalled the incident later for the media, he mentioned that when he when the plane crashed, he was on the seat 11A, and he has said that he realized only after when the plane crashed, he found himself amid the debris that was on fire, and he said that he has recalled that there were bodies all around and there were human remains all around. And he said that he was scared seeing those visuals and he was terrified. That was the moment when he was put into an ambulance and was sent to medical facility. Now, he has been marked safe. He has been injuries. He certainly has injuries all over his body. There are burn marks as well, and there are injuries also. But doctors are saying that he's safe. He has been marked safe. He's out of danger right now, and he's under medical supervision. But so far, he's the only passenger actually who has been found to have survived this crash. Other than that, even though the rescue operations are still underway, it is being the debris also being looked if there would be any more people who can be sent to medical facilities, or the dead who can be shifted to the boat. But so far, this person is the only survivor that we have spotted and that the agencies have spotted, and he has been marked. Vishwas Kumar Ramesh is his name. He is a 40-year-old resident who is a British national by nationality, and he had come here with his brother. He was traveling back to London when this incident took place.
Many thanks to you, Anvit, for bringing us those latest inputs. In fact, in the studio, we are also joined in by Captain Kishore Chinta, who is the chief pilot of the Sirius India Airlines Private Limited. Many thanks to you, sir, for joining in. Captain Chinta, what do you make of this miraculous survival? Also, how crucial and pivotal could this testimony be now of Mr. Ramesh to the entire investigation?
Good evening. Thank you for having me on CNN News 18. It is indeed practically grabbing life out of the jaws of death for the survivor. It is indeed miraculous that he survived the crash, considering that the aircraft would have probably had 50 to 60 tons of fuel when it impacted the ground, and that kind of fuel would probably just wipe out everything in the vicinity after the crash. So the testimony is pretty understandable. It is well known from the data available from the Flight Radar 24 ADSB data, which is not very accurate, but gives us a sense of the timing of how much time the aircraft was up in the air. It was definitely not a immediate loss of power. The fact that it happened beyond a speed of V1, beyond which the pilots were compelled to continue with the takeoff, and that it gained an altitude of close to 625 feet as on flight radar. So it had enough power to at least gain that much amount of height before it appears to be total loss of power, and the aircraft slowly started coming down in a controlled manner. The pilots wouldn't have had anything.
That's exactly the point I want to come in on, Captain, because remember, as you quoted, that flight radar has attributed the altitude of just 625 feet after takeoff, which is a height far below standard for a commercial aircraft several minutes into it. I think for the benefit of all our viewers, it is important to break down why this low altitude could have had a role to play. All right, and before we take that answer from you, in fact, fresh visuals coming in on CNN News 18 after the Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu. What we can tell you is that the Home Minister Amit Shah has arrived. Remember, this is also his home state. He's here to inspect the entire site, and as you can see, the debris is still scattered, all of it completely charred. It's a very dark day for the entire nation because the country has also lost the former Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Vijay Rupani, and those visuals coming in as the Union Home Minister, Shri Amit Shah, inspects the crash site. Remember, this is where the Air India aircraft crashed minutes after takeoff, and it is the hostel or the residential building of a medical college. Many of those medical students are still struggling for life. The Home Minister also accompanied by the Gujarat Chief Minister. In fact, he's standing right next to the building where it is the nose of the aircraft that's still stuck, and the Union Home Minister actually inspecting. So, Captain Chinta, please go ahead and tell us why the low altitude could have had a role to play.
Well, the mere fact that it reached that altitude is testimony that those engines are powerful enough, even at partial power, to propel the aircraft to that altitude at least. Because if there was total loss of power, it wouldn't have even reached that altitude after takeoff. So, the reasons can be multitude. It could be probably a bird hit leading to portions of the engine shearing off and entering the rest of the engine clear, causing complete shutdown of the engines. So right now, until the, like you mentioned, until the CVR, the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder are found and downloaded by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, we will not come to know the actual picture on when actually the engine started winding down. So the height definitely is critical. Probably if they had a couple of 100 feet more, they would have crossed that one sole building and maybe impacted the ground in more clearer area, leading to chances of more survivors compared to what we have right now.
All right, let me also introduce the other guests joining us. I'm joined in by Captain Ehsan Khalid, who's a veteran pilot and currently flying as captain of Gulfstream 650 aircraft. Also joined in by Commodore B.S. Sivach, who's the ex-DG and an aviation safety expert, Mr. Anand Ranganathan, renowned author. Thank you for joining in. Anand, if I could come to you, what is your assessment of the lone survivor, first of all, who's in fact walked out completely unscathed? It's rather shocking to see him walking out at a time when the loved ones are looking for their family members who could have been on that flight.
Good evening, Akanksha. On this terrible hour, my sincere condolences to the families of the bereaved. It's such a tragedy. I think we all feel exactly how each one of those families of 242 on the plane and so many other who were doctors and medical students were in the building where the plane crashed into. My sincere condolences. It's an absolutely ghastly event that has taken place. 3 points I'd like to make. Number one, of course, it is too early to even discuss about the possibilities of what caused the fatal crash. There are many theories floating around, but at the moment, I'm not going to pick one of those, or at least go with some of those theories, because all of them are at present mere conjectures. This Dreamliner, which is a particular type of aircraft, this is the first fatal crash in its history, and it's been there commissioned for the last 15 years. Having said that, there have been whistleblowers who've talked about the deficiencies that have gone on in the construction, in the making of the Dreamliner, who've talked about the cost cutting or indeed cutting corners by Boeing as far as the commissioning of the plane itself is concerned, who've talked about various inadequacies, especially relating to hydraulics. And a similar loss, sudden descent, loss of height, happened almost a year ago, in fact 14 months ago, on a Dreamliner flight from Sydney to Auckland, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Chilean Airlines. and there was a sudden descent, which is what we've seen, at least from the visuals that I can see. And the one of the panelists was talking about that after the V1, the descent was reached, and it is highly unusual for a plane to then suddenly lose descent.
Right.
I think many people have ruled out the possibility of a bird hit at that height.
Okay.
As far as the survivor is concerned, Akanksha, it's an absolute miracle, and I'm so happy, at least in this unearthly hour, ungodly hour, to have this small bit of news, good news, and I hope that he's able to, he looks pretty fit under the circumstances.
True.
And he could be giving us vital information about what happened. Yes.
True. He's the only silver lining at the moment, and perhaps, in fact, latest visuals coming in to take our viewers through these visuals that have just come in. These are critical moments before that Indian Airlines flight took off. Just critical moments of that entire takeoff that have been accessed by CNN News 18 before it crashed. But as flight, this is in fact just the takeoff, and it led to the crash soon after it takes off. This is the entire video that we have accessed for you that shows that entire takeoff till the moment where it leads to that catastrophic explosion, as you can see. And those visuals, in fact, indicating that the moment when the AI-171 actually took off. And as you can see, those visuals actually speaking for themselves, that as Mr. Ramesh's testimony goes, that it was a loud explosion and within 30 seconds it was all over. And I want to bring in Captain Ehsan Khalid. The video speaks for itself. Captain Khalid. All right, we'll bring in DBS Gujral over there. DG Flight Safety of Air Costa is also with us. Mr. Gujral, what do you make of these visuals? They are also in alignment with the testimony that's come in of Mr. Ramesh, who said that it was all over within 30 seconds.
First of all, my condolences to the families who have lost their loved ones in this accident. And I would like to say that this particular crash has got an international ramifications as far as Boeing 787 is concerned. Now, I have been watching and listening to the various people who have been coming on the television and expressing their views about this accident. But to my mind, it's too early to say anything about the cause of this accident, as there was very little time between the takeoff and the accident, and the time between the takeoff and the time when Mayday call was given. After that, there could not have been any conversation between the ATC and the pilot, and all this little time is having all the answers hidden into the black box, that is digital flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. Once we decode it, there may be or may not be, there may be answers to all the questions that everybody is asking. And to my mind, we cannot rule out the role of any one of the factors, that is the controls, the engines and the environmental factors. We have to combine them all and study as to what possibly could have happened when the aircraft just took off and crashed within a few kilometers of the airport and went into a building. As far as the disaster is concerned, this sole survivor, as you have said, is very fortunate, and he is a crucial witness. And the loud thought or noise that he is expressing must have been recorded in the flight data recorder, and it will have the answer from that.
I want to quickly go across to Tejinder, who's joining us on the phone line with more inputs. Tejinder, this is a very, very crucial piece of footage that has been accessed, which we are playing out for our viewers right now. Very crucial moments of AI-171's takeoff, and in fact, that also goes on to indicate that it was a matter of seconds that soon after the takeoff, the crash happened.
Indeed, this is a very crucial piece of information that we have been able to access, which clearly shows that within less than 30 seconds, if you can see that the flight, this ill-fated flight, when it takes off, it crashes, and then we can see a huge plume of fire and smoke coming from the area. Though the various agencies are now looking into this CCTV footage as well, and they are trying to find out because the black box of this ill-fated flight is yet to be retrieved. Fortunately, there has been only one. There has been a survival, while unfortunately every other passenger on the plane have been killed in this unfortunate incident which happened this afternoon. But yes, a crucial piece of CCTV footage which CNN News 18 has been able to access, which clearly show that soon after the takeoff, this ill-fated flight, it could not continue with its ascent, and it crashed, and then we can see a huge plume, a fireball and smoke, which led to the death of all the passengers. But yes, there has been one survival in this ill-fated aircraft. Yes.
Absolutely, it is. And I actually want to bring in Mr. Air Commodore B.S. Sivach also, who's with us right now. So, what do you make of these visuals? Because contrary to what Flight Radar 24 was reporting, that it was 20 minutes after takeoff, now these visuals actually go on to testify also what Mr. Ramesh has been stating, that it was a loud explosion and within 30 seconds this entire catastrophic crash took place.
Very ghastly, very terrible loss of lives, very shocking news. Our heartfelt condolences from Aviation Safety India, and our prayer to God for the speedy recovery of those who are injured. Now, in this particular accident, the aircraft was fully serviceable. Pilots were absolutely well qualified with good experience. Weather was reasonably good. The aircraft was fully serviceable. The aircraft has taken off. Actually, it has come from Delhi. So, aircraft was fully serviceable. It has landed there, got turned around, loaded its passenger, and again took off. Till takeoff, there was no problem. The aircraft was climbing after takeoff at about 425 feet. That is what is being talked about is 625 feet. The Ahmedabad runway elevation is about 180 odd feet. So let's assume 200 feet. So aircraft was just at 425 feet. It experienced sudden loss of power. We must commend the presence of mind of the pilot that at such low altitude loss of power, he immediately informed ATC in the form of mayday call that there is a serious threat to the safety of the aircraft and passengers. So it's creditable on the part of the pilot without losing cool, and still he continued because now he had loss of power, so he could not continue the climb. He started descending because of the loss of power. Loss of power can be attributed to so many reasons. This Ahmedabad airport is notorious for bird strike. So, bird strike to both the engine can lead to the shutdown of both the engine. And the passenger who has survived, he also talked about some loud noise. So, loud noise possibly has come from engines.
Right.
Which was possibly maybe bird hit, and thereafter loss of engine power. Pilot transmitted ATC, tried to avoid buildings. Unfortunately, he was helpless. He had no control over the aircraft because there was no power in the aircraft, and eventually the aircraft crashed.
Right.
Very, very terrible accident. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner is a very safe aircraft. Initially, it had some trouble. These are called teething troubles, which had been resolved. Now, this aircraft is being flown by large number of airlines, almost 1,200 aircrafts are flying around the world. They must have conducted millions of flights. There have been no such accident. Remember, in aircraft operation, there are only two phases of flight which are very, very critical. One is takeoff and another is landing.
Okay.
Most of the accident happen during this phase.
Okay.
Most of the accident take place during landing. Takeoff, there is very rare. This is one of the rarest of the accident. There have been accidents, I'm not saying that, but it is very rare. Landing accidents have been plenty. So this accident, takeoff accident, obviously chances of surviving the crash, because the aircraft had more than 1 lakh liters of fuel. So it, like a bomb blast, the fuel caught fire, and of course there was a large flame. It is very miraculous, very surprising, and very good news that at least one person who survived this Holocaust.
I want to bring in Captain Chinta on that note. Captain Chinta, this is a very significant and pivotal piece of footage, and I'm sure this will also be aiding the ongoing investigation. But what is your assessment? Because as we said, that this is now fresh information corroborated by these visuals that the blast happened within 30 seconds as the plane takes off and it crashes within 30 seconds. What is your assessment, and what are the questions that are coming to your mind? Of course, we all know that 65 to 70,000 liters of fuel was being carried in this flight, given that it was Gatwick bound, and that it sort of sheds light on the size of the explosion. But what is it that comes to your mind when you look at how rapidly the descent happens, eventually leading to the crash?
Well, this video makes it amply clear that it did gain height at some point of time. It's lost because you can see some smoke coming out of the engines. So just before it starts descent from this new video which is there. So something did lead to loss of power on both those engines. And an aircraft which is going to be close to 200 tons weight for 240 odd passengers and 60 tons of fuel. Approximately we can take a guess estimate of about 200 tons for a 787 to fly from Ahmedabad to London. So with no power being generated, 200 tons would come down that quickly, as you can see from that video. So the pilots did a miraculous job of maintaining full control and maintaining wings level all the way down to the impact. If they had even slight amount of bank, we wouldn't have seen even that sole survivor which we have.
All right, Mr. Gujral, I want to quickly bring you in before I take closing thoughts from Anand. Mr. Gujral, what comes to your mind when you look at these visuals? Within 30 seconds, the crash happened as soon after the takeoff, and that also aligns with the testimony that's come in from the lone survivor. I'd like your thoughts.
Thank you so much for bringing me in. What I find is that there are so many factors coming into my mind when I listen to and watch the visual on the TV. But there is one very crucial question. Why did the aircraft did not gain the height? The loss of height is not being explained by any of these arguments, right? Whether it was fuel starvation, whether it was something else, or whether it was failure of the engines, or whether it was bird ingestion. All these questions are being answered by the silent listener, that is called black box. Once we get the answer from the flight data recorder, once we decode it, and once we listen to the cockpit voice recorder, the pilot's conversation will come to us. The parameters that are recorded in the flight data recorder will be in front of us for finding out at least as to what exactly at that moment and in a very brief short time happened. As far as the aircraft is concerned, it flew from Delhi to Ahmedabad. It was trouble free, and in every transit the aircraft is checked up thoroughly before it is cleared for the next flight, and the same must have been done by the engineering staff at Ahmedabad as well. But what happened between those few seconds and after the loud explosion which our friend survivor is telling, These questions will be answered only when we decode the flight data recorder. The pilots are definitely experienced and qualified, and I understand that Captain Sabrawal was a line training captain. Such position is given only to the pilots who are well briefed, well qualified and well experienced. As the Air Commodore has said, it's definitely a compliment to the pilots who maintained their calm even at that critical moment when perhaps they saw there was no